Today I will tell you about a 1992 film called The Lover. Colonial Vietnam in the 1930s. A 15-year-old girl from an impoverished French family living in Vietnam returns by ferry to a boarding school for girls located in Saigon. In this film, by the way, the main characters have no names. The girl is accompanied to the station by her mother and one of her brothers, Paul. While everyone is busy seeing the girl off, her older brother Pierre steals money hidden by their mother and spends it on drugs. A black car follows the bus onto the ferry, and the driver gets out and opens the door for the passenger sitting in the back seat. Getting out of the car, the guy walks over to the girl. He takes out a cigarette case and offers her a smoke, but she refuses. The guy is visibly nervous. To strike up a conversation with the girl, he compliments her men's hat, finding it unusual that a woman is wearing it. When the girl asks who he is and where he lives, the guy tells her about a large blue stone house on the other side of the river, which the girl has seen many times. It turns out that all the big, rich houses here belong to Chinese people, which is what our guy is. The Chinese guy offers to drive the girl wherever she needs to go as soon as they dock. In the car, the guy asks what the girl does in Saigon. According to her, she is in 11th grade, pretending to be 17, and lives in a boarding school for girls, coming home only for vacations, from which she is currently returning. Noticing the girl's hand on the seat, the Chinese man carefully places his hand next to hers, then begins to touch her with his finger and gently stroke her, and then passionately squeezes her. When the car reaches the boarding school, the Chinese man is already stroking the girl's leg. Getting out of the car, she says goodbye to the guy, and he silently watches her go. At the boarding house, the girl tells her indiscreet friend Helen that a stranger gave her a ride, which is why she arrived so early this time. Helen also has something to tell. One of the boarding house residents was selling herself outside the institution to anyone who wanted her. The girl dreamily says that she would not mind giving herself to a stranger either. Helen admits that it is better to be a prostitute than to care for lepers, because there is a rumor at the boarding school that after graduation, they will be assigned to infirmaries to care for the sick. Leaving for school in the morning, the girl notices a Chinese man's car parked outside the school. She approaches the back door of the car and kisses the window behind which the Chinese man is sitting, then runs to school. Returning from class in the evening, the girl looks back all the time, but does not see the familiar car. At night in the boarding house, the girl cannot sleep because she is so excited. A couple of days later, when the boarding house is closed for the day, the girl notices a black car outside, goes out and gets in, which Helen sees from the window. The Chinese man takes the girl to an apartment that the locals call a bachelor pad. According to the guy, every young Chinese man has a mistress, and such apartments are intended for meetings with them. The guy says he is afraid of falling in love with the girl, but she asks him not to fall in love, but to do what he usually does with other girls. After laying her on the bed, the guy gets scared because she is still a very young girl, so she takes matters into her own hands. After taking her virginity, the guy takes the girl to a restaurant. There, she smiles and says that if her mother found out, she would kill her, and her brother would kill the guy for sleeping with his sister. The girl's mother told her that if a girl loses her virginity before marriage, she will never find a husband because it is a disgrace. The guy confirms her words. He gives an example: if he wanted to marry her, he would not be allowed to do so, because the girl had already been dishonored. Their society does not accept this, and marriage between them would be impossible. The girl is glad to hear this, as she basically does not like Chinese people. In the morning, the boy's driver is already waiting for the girl at the exit of the boarding house. He takes her to the same area where the Chinese man's bachelor apartment is located. When they meet, she throws herself at the boy, kissing him, after which they have sex right at the doorstep, under the voices of random passers-by walking past the apartment. Every day after class, they meet at the guy's apartment, which the girl tells her friend Helen about. She returns to her village for another vacation, arriving in the Chinese man's car, which the girl's mother sees. In the evening, the woman interrogates her daughter about who brought her from Saigon. The girl lies, saying that he is an acquaintance who simply offered to give her a ride to the village. Her mother gets a telegram from the boarding school saying that the girl has not stayed there for several days. She also has an excuse for this: it was hot in the boarding school those nights, and the fans were not working. Pierre suggests that the mother beat the girl, as she most likely spent the night at her friend's house. Since her mother does not believe her, the girl asks to be taken out of the boarding school. Some time passes, and when the woman calms down, she asks to introduce the girl to her friend. They meet at a restaurant. No one seems to be listening to the Chinese man's stories, as everyone is eagerly eating their delicious dinner. After eating, Pierre suggests going to a bar where they can dance. Looking at the bill, he moves it toward the girl, and she moves it toward the Chinese man. Seeing the wallet full of money, the girl's mother begins to laugh hysterically. They arrive at the bar, where after dancing, Pierre begins to taunt the Chinese man, provoking him into a fight. The girl and Polly go dancing, and their mother starts crying because she is ashamed of her children's behavior. After dancing, the guy takes the girl to his bachelor apartment, where he takes advantage of her. After sex, the girl asks how much the Chinese man would pay for this in a brothel. When he asks her how much she wants, the girl asks for 500 piastres, which she gives to her mother, who in turn goes to the boarding house and warns the director that sometimes the girl will not be spending the night at the facility. Meeting with the boy, the girl says that no one talks to her at school because the parents of other children gossip about her relationship with an adult Chinese man. But the boy thinks the girl is overreacting. A few days later, the Chinese man goes to visit his father, who is very ill and has been bedridden for several years. The guy asks his father for his blessing to marry the young French girl, but his father refuses, because 10 years ago he agreed with the parents of another girl that his son would marry her, and nothing can change that. The guy tells the girl about this. His father will never allow him to marry a white girl and may take away all his money, and the young man does not want that. The girl says that his father is right. In a year, she will leave anyway, after finishing her studies. Besides, she doesn't love the Chinese man. They return to the bachelor apartment, where the girl asks the guy if his bride is beautiful. He himself has never seen her, he only knows that she comes from a wealthy family and was chosen specifically for this reason. The girl returns to her village. When her mother and Pierre see the expensive ring that the Chinese man gave her, they make a scene. They believe that the guy gave it to her not just like that, but after sleeping with her. She rejects this, as she despises Chinese people. Unpacking her things, Pierre sniffs her underwear and says that it smells like a Chinese man. The guy starts beating the girl to get her to confess. After a while, Pierre leaves for France. His mother can no longer pay for his antics, and she is fed up with him stealing money, so she decides to send him away. Late in the evening, the girl comes to the Chinese man. The guy is busy smoking opium, because his heart is broken by the girl's confession that she does not love him. The guy is getting married in a few days, and the girl promises that after the celebration, they will meet again before she leaves the country with her family. After the Chinese man's wedding, the girl goes home, where she learns from her mother that the guy is not as bad as she thought. He paid off all Pierre's debts and paid for their trip to France. The girl goes to Saigon. She enters the Chinese man's apartment, where she sits until evening waiting for him, but when he doesn't show up, she returns home. The day of departure for France arrives. Standing on the deck of the ship, the girl notices the same, but more familiar black car. Although it was difficult to see, she could still make out the silhouette of the guy inside the car. The girl stared at him until the car disappeared from view. In the evening, peering into the darkness, the girl hears someone playing a waltz. Going downstairs, she begins to cry. She cried because the music reminded her of her lover, with whom she was truly in love. Many years later, the doorbell rang in the apartment of the now grown woman. It was the Chinese man who had come to Paris with his wife. With a trembling voice, he said that he still loved her and would love her as much as he did on the first day they met. That's where the movie ends. Thank you for watching.